Well, welcome back to the show, everybody. Excited about our next guest, and I'm excited to be back on after the Masters, which was a whirlwind week. And I spent a lot of time with Joe Musso, actually, breaking things down each and every day. Joe Musso is one of the ultra-talented sports anchors in the business today, and I've been around a long time, and I know talent when I see it, and so that's why it's an honor for me to work with Joe every week, basically, during the season. He does all the sports, but he loves the game of golf, works for CBS Sports, CBS Sports HQ, which is the fastest growing digital platform in sports, and that's where it's all going. And after that intro, let's welcome in the man. Joe, thanks for carving out some time for us. How are you?
Doug, I'm fantastic. I'm not sure I could have said any of that better myself, even the self-adulation. No, but that is much appreciated. Your words are too kind, but I'm very excited to see how this dynamic's going to work. The tables are certainly turned right now.
Well, I got to ask you this because our show is on Mondays in the Birmingham, Tuscaloosa area. And, of course, Musso is a famous name in Alabama football history, the Italian stallion. Johnny Musso, number 22, the tearaway jersey, considered one of the all-time great running backs Coach Bryant ever had. Joe, you got to be related somewhere along the lines, right?
I truly hate to disappoint, but I hate to lie even more, so I cannot. So the Mussos, the way I know it, strong Italian name, strong Italian family. We're not Ellis Island. They were Louisiana ports. So to go right. Really in depth here. So there are Mussos all along the Mississippi. My version of the Mussos made it all the way up to Chicago. So we've delved into it. I am related to George Musso. That is my grandpa's cousin, who was an offensive lineman for George Halas on the 1930s-ish Chicago Bears. So we do have some football lineage. Johnny Musso, unfortunately, not by blood, but we have always – I played Division III football, was raised within the crucible of football, so we always said no, but we are very proud of the name. That's kind of what we go with.
Well, actually, Johnny's son Brian did play football at Northwestern, and you're a Northwestern guy. So there's kind of a connection.
Yes, got my master's at Northwestern after my undergrad at Illinois Wesleyan, where I played wide receiver, Division III. So didn't get any tick with the Cats, but I did get a master's degree, so that counts for something.
Well, the fact you're a football player has endeared yourself to all the Alabama fans who are listening
yes,
today.
Sir.
All right, let's talk CBS Sports, though, because, again, really, when you talk CBS Sports, that name in itself is iconic. And, Joe, when you go back through the years, or we're not going to go way back, but, I mean, you throw out names like Brent Musburger, Pat Summerall, John Madden, Joe Buck, one of my all-time favorites, spent a lot of time at CBS. Jim Nance, who you see quite often. Vern Lundquist, we said goodbye to him last week at the Masters. I mean, Joe, what sense of pride do you have wearing that CBS logo on the jacket? I don't know if you ever do that anymore, but a lot of the guys still do. What sense of pride do you have working for CBS Sports?
Oh, man, I mean, you got goosebumps on my arm right now talking about it because that's something I reflect on often when I get a little bit too caught up in the granular, everyday, small picture. It's like zoom out and look at the big picture and look at the logo you get to wear. And that is sort of my North Star at times because all those names that you just uttered are a big part of the reason why I even chased a career in this. The soundtrack to all of these moments was always very interesting to me. It always struck me, even at a young age, how the right call, and I think we heard a lot about it this past weekend with Vern, how the right call, yes. And it doesn't have to be something boisterous or long-winded, but the right call at the right time elevates a moment from, wow, what a moment, to put that in the canon of calls and moments that we've ever seen in our lives, regardless of sport. So that always at a young age, I was taken to that side of it. So to be able to do something of the ilk and, like you said, wear that same logo and take that pride in what it means to be on air with CBS is something that I reflect upon often, and it means a ton to me, and that is also something I see as responsibility as well, not just something to be celebrated.
Yeah, well said. Now, I know you cover all sports with CBS Sports, and you spent a week at the Super Bowl, which is kind of cool at Vegas, and we talked about that weeks ago when we were kind of talking off air. Yeah, but I know you love golf, and last week, the Golden Bear gave a ton of interviews, and I hope people listen to the 84-year-old champion because he does have words of wisdom. And, Joe, as he said, the game of golf as a whole, he goes, it's never been more popular. More people are playing now than ever before. His concern, obviously, is with the professional game. And And Jay Monahan has assured him things will be worked out in short order. And the Golden Bears said that's all I needed to hear. Joe, my question to you is there a level of concern with you between this rift between the PGA Tour and LIV and the fact that it's gone on now for several years?
I think concern would probably be the emotion I felt earlier on when players were sort of jettisoning for this spin-off tour, or not even spin-off because it's not connected, but this other tour. I think my feeling right now is more that's probably shared by a ton of players and minds and individuals and fans. I'm impatient at this point. I would love a resolution because we could stand here on moral platitudes and say this, that, or the other, but it seems evident the direction that things are heading, and resolution is really what we're looking for because we got a taste of it at the Masters of what this tour is when everyone is in that place. And it was special. And even when you have, let's say, there were some notables that missed the cut. When you have, let's say, 6 notables that missed the cut and your field is still as strong as it was, like there is such a insurance policy there. There is such an insulation of talent that for us to be doing anything differently just makes zero sense to me. And easy to be said, not at a boardroom with millions and billions of dollars of television rights and things along the lines. All that I can say, and not to sound like the company man, is get it figured out so CBS can offer you the best golf offering possible. That's what I want. I want all the guys in one place so my people can do the best job that we do.
Yeah, you're singing to the choir. I totally agree. I just, I sense a guy like Jon Rahm really misses the PGA Tour. He misses playing certain events. And then you have a guy like Dustin Johnson, who I think is enjoying being with his family and time away from the game. And I think that was, in clear evidence there at the Masters where he didn't play particularly well. So, will the guys who are enjoying life want to come back to a full bore schedule, all these signature events, or are they happy? There's got to be some balance, Joe, and I think that obviously is the sticking point.
A couple things off of this, because the enjoyment of life, and not to undermine anyone's problems, we all have them, but the enjoyment of life playing professional golf for a living, the stress that comes with that, being player 125, totally respect and understand that. But we're talking about the top 20 here. The enjoyment of life is built in. These guys, we get to see them up close. There is quite a bit of enjoyment outside of the game of golf for them to have. If the question then becomes, because one of the early excuses or one of the early reasons that the LIV initial group of guys was offering was, I want to be with my family, I don't want to travel as much. If we are entering a world where it is a world golf tour, all you're going to be doing is traveling. So I don't know if that was just a patchwork Band-Aid to say, give me this money and let me feel okay about it, or whatever that reasoning was, but there's going to be a lot of travel, there's going to be a lot of golf, and that's what you signed up for. Here's the millions of dollars you get to earn while globetrotting. So again, not to undermine anybody's responsibility or strife, but to me, I just can't spend a lot of time feeling sorry for guys that got to travel private to play golf. I love these players. I love what they do for us. It's in my notes every single year for my NFL coverage. When we signed off, the last 2 things I did was thanked our crew and everybody that made the week happen, and then thank the players, because the players put a lot on the line in the NFL to entertain us. Golf, same thing. These golfers now physically, they're not putting on the line what NFL players are asked of, but they are sacrificing things. They're putting things on the line. And for that, I am forever thankful, because those 2 things, NFL football and PGA Tour golf, are the 2 things that ring the tuning fork in my soul most. So I'm just, whatever the solution is that gets everybody in one place, I am so for it, because they deserve, to an extent, now if we want to talk about actual market value, $600 million for a golfer is beyond market value, and that is what has caused this situation to occur. But now, to sit here and worry about the enjoyment of Dustin Johnson, Jon Rahm, 2 different points in their career. If DJ's resigned to what he is, I totally get that. Jon Rahm should be doing everything in his power to get back on the tour so he can say, Scotty, I see you, and I'm coming for you. That's what it's – I'm here for the competition. If you're not here for the competition, I probably don't have a whole lot of time for you.
Again, Joe, you're hitting a lot of good points there, and I agree. And let's segue now to Scotty Scheffler, because the dominant world number 1, massive gap between him and Rory, who's number 2. I mean, it's crazy how that gap has widened. And yet, Joe, the ratings, and he's our number 1 guy, talking about the PGA Tour, the ratings are down. They were down for the Masters last week. Clearly, Scotty doesn't move the needle like a Caitlin Clark in women's basketball. Not many athletes in my lifetime have moved the needle quite like a Jordan, a Palmer, an Ali, Caitlin Clark, for example. She's a phenomenon. I'm trying to think right now, where is the PGA Tour? I mean, we have this guy who's playing incredible golf that we haven't seen since Tiger 20 years ago, and yet the ratings are down. What's going on here, Joe?
So I guess I'll bounce that back to you with a question because I'm interested in your experience with it all. My first golf memory, I was born in 1990. My first golf memory was 97, Tiger, fist pump, and I remember being in my grandma's basement. We would all spend summer days at the house, pool in the backyard, and I remember my dad or my uncles calling us in to watch this happen, and we watched the last few holes of watching. So when you want to talk about phenomenon, that's one thing. High-level play is another, and Scotty's offering us the high-level play. The question I would pose to you is, don't you feel like, now we're the sickos, we're in, we've long been sold, but don't you feel like people are warming to Scotty Scheffler, that the whole boring moniker is wearing off, like that people are coming to see the greatness? Now, the number doesn't match it, and how you count the number is another thing. How many people were watching on Masters.com? How many people were streaming on Paramount Plus or on the CBS Sports app? Is that number being taken into account? So is that 20% drop in TV eyes actually level or up 5% over the year when you add those numbers up? So I don't know that this is an answer or a question for minds greater than mine, but we are seeing something special. And I have always said about my work that I have to worry about what that looks like. It's someone else's job to worry about who watches it. I hope that the most people come to watch this greatness because Scotty Scheffler is special, and he's a different kind of special. And the longevity, barring injury, because of the value system he has, seems very sustainable. So this is going to be happening for a while. So if it takes a little bit of a slow burn and it takes the general populace more time to warm to Scotty than maybe we'd like, then so be it. But man, if I'm not sitting here entertained, and again, that's sort of at the crux of it all. Caitlin Clark being our example. The numbers this year, amazing and rightfully so. I'd love to go back and look at the numbers last year and the year before to watch how much it took for people to warm to the idea of, hey, this is the thing we're watching tonight, and how great is this? So I think we might be somewhere in that process with Scotty. If he maintains this for another 2, 4, 6, dare I say, years, it's going to be hard to take your eyes off of, I think.
Well, I have a follow-up to the Scotty Scheffler, but taking us back to 97, what you saw, what you remember with the Tiger win, and obviously Tiger, when I mentioned those people who move the needle, and he raised the bar so high in professional golf, and the reason the TV contracts are what they are, and the reason these guys make so much money, and the reason that LIV is a reality is all the Tiger effect, right? Mm-hmm. And so I think what we're seeing now that Tiger plays very limited, Joe, I think we're back to normal, which is above where we were 10, 20 years ago. But I think now golf is probably where it should be, being a niche sport. The fact that Tiger no longer is the dominant figure. I mean, he moved the needle like nobody in history, right? Yeah. So I think we're kind of where we should be. And yes, Scotty Scheffler is incredible, and you need to appreciate that because, again, statistically, what he's doing, hitting the golf ball closer than anybody else by almost 9 feet when it comes with a wedge. I mean, Joe, that's astonishing what he's pulling off right now. It really is uncanny. And with that, Joe, let me ask you this. He'll be the favorite now for the rest of the major championships. Oh, yeah. And you knew what question was coming. Tiger won 3 in 1 year and then followed it up with the Masters the next year, 2000, 2001. So we had the Tiger Slam, which is unheard of, right? Jack never won 3 in 1 year. Ben Hogan won 3 in 1953. But again, nobody really talked about the Grand Slam, and the PGA wasn't considered a major back then. It was being played the same time as the Open Championship. So I guess that was a long lead into, can a Scotty Scheffler win a Grand Slam? Can he win all 4 in 1 year?
Like, I leave myself open to say yes. I hesitate to say yes because I live on two sides of this line, one being give me that piece of history so we can build around it. Like the tour, the CBS, our shows, that would be such an amazing piece of history for us to be able to highlight. On the other side of it, let's go back as immediately to 2015-17 Spieth-Rory era where we're looking at Jordan Spieth taking a possible Grand Slam to the 17th hole at the Open Championship when the rotation was different. But I guess my hope would be get me to Pinehurst halfway home. That would be when we could start getting into a full lather. Because not only are you talking Masters PGA, you're talking Players Masters PGA, and then sprinkle Arnie on top of it. Sprinkle, like, this is a historic year that we're starting to trot out onto, and I feel like Scotty's the perfect guy to not get out ahead of himself and start thinking about Pinehurst. He's probably dialed into what he's got to do this week. He's keeping that phone close when it rings, go have a baby, be with the kid, and then pop back up, hopefully ready to roll at Valhalla. But it's not a no. I'll say that much. It's not a no. He's going to be the biggest favorite we have seen in golf since Tiger Woods at every major moving forward. And that's the next 6. Like, what's going to change? What's going to change for him to not be the favorite for the foreseeable future? It's been amazing. I hope that we get to Pinehurst still thinking about it and still talking about it because, like, look what he did at Augusta. He put himself in the right positions. He had an amazing game plan. But the thing that was sort of lost on, let's say, casuals was just how he's the best chipper in golf, too. Like, and that I feel like Pinehurst, when it gets baked out, if that's the golf course we get, it's going to be everybody's going to be up there. Can you get it up and down is going to be the question. And who better to do that than Scotty, too? I think it's setting up quite nicely. Now you get to an Open, and you got to be on the right side of the draw. Weather could be a little squirrely. But if we've gone Players, Masters, PGA, and U.S. Open, the Open's just the cherry. I know it's going to be, can he complete the Grand Slam in a single year? But that's the cherry on top, man. Like, if we've gotten there, we are already in rarefied air. Long answer to a short question, but I think not no would be my answer to can Scotty win the Grand Slam this year.
Well, and I was at St. Andrews. You mentioned the Jordan Spieth, and when he rolls in like a 50-footer at 16, and that was the Monday finish because of the crazy winds. Mm-hmm. And Joe, I mean, I got chill bumps. That moment, I was like, this guy's going to win the Grand Slam. But then, of course, then it's golf. He bogeys 18 and doesn't make the playoffs. So that's golf. So we'll see. I think it would be incredible for the game if that happens, and that would solve a lot of issues. But a long way to go. All right. With that said,
how
go
incredible ahead. that we can even sit here and entertain this. That we have a talent this apparent that we can have this as an actual conversation. I feel very fortunate that we are in an era of golf that, and now I enjoyed from 17 to now as well. Like, I was all in on the new young cats. I've been rooting for Ricky to get something done. Like, all of the smaller storylines do it for me too, but how lucky that we have this guy, you know?
Yeah, and the fact that he flew home Sunday night, and he lives 5 minutes from the airport, and on the way home he decided, you know what, let's just stop at this little hole-in-the-wall bar. And he had fireballs. And I was like, oh my goodness, that's a new version of Scotty Scheffler. He really, I like this guy even more.
Yeah, little hole in the wall. So I don't know. I don't know if I have the logistics right here. He did say Meredith was asleep. Now I'm not sure if he went home and said goodnight and kissed Meredith goodnight and gave her the good and then left again, or if it was on the way home. I think as a husband of 1.5 years, that is an important distinction. Maybe you tap the home base, say hello, and then you go back out for the celebratory fireball.
We've all been there.
Yeah, exactly.
Except I never did it with the green jacket on, which is kind of cool. All right, before we let you go, and I know you love golf, you love all sports, but there's got to be a golf trip, Joe, that you haven't been on, that you're dreaming of being on. What is it? Where do you want to go? Where do you want to play more than ever? Is it Augusta?
The list is long. That is the one that twinkles in the back of my head, but you can't even like hope for that one. Like the stars just have to align, and the right person, the right green jacket has to take a liking. So hopefully someday there. In the more immediate future, I got some really fun golf lined up this summer. We're doing Cabot Citrus Farms, just opened up about an hour north of Tampa. Supposed to be sandy, really cool looking, natural. Cabot does a great job with their properties. Looking forward to that one. I do an annual trip with my buddies, 24-man Ryder Cup. We're up Madden's on Gull Lake up in Minnesota is going to be a fun one. But ones that I have, like pilgrimages that I have to make, I have to get to Scotland. I have to see I have to see what I have to see. Here stateside, Bandon has my eye. I'm sure that will be a location. That will be a location for our buddy's trip one of these upcoming years. But man, again, like it might be a niche sport, it might be our thing, but it feels to me that as someone who plays the game, covers the game, watches the game, outside of getting everybody back together, how good is it right now? You know, how good is it that we have these amazing places to go, these amazing things to watch? The bucket list will remain long, but hope to check a few off. I'm a Chicagoan at heart. I offered that early, so playing a couple nice clubs this summer as well when I get back to Chicago. So I'm a professional guest, I guess is what I'm getting at here. Anyone who's got an invite, I will come, and I will not put my shoes on in the parking lot. That I promise.
Cubs or White Sox, Joe?
White Sox.
Okay.
The bloodline there goes grandma. Dad's mom was a diehard. Thank God they won it in 2016. She was 92, got to see them win a championship. But my dad was a White Sox because he was a bad kid and became a White Sox fan to spite her. She was such a big Cubs fan that he's like, I'm going to do the opposite of mom. Now, I did not have that same hatred in my heart, so I was always a White Sox fan with my pops. We got ours in 2005. It's not good right now. But my guy Nicky Lopez, middle infielder, dear family friend, is out there grinding for them. So we keep an eye on our White Sox still. But it's Chicago Bears football draft coming up next week. Hopefully, the future of the quarterback position is coming to town.
That will be a big move. The number one pick. Got to do it. Got to be right there, Joe.
Yeah, and I mean, I think the consensus makes you feel good right now, but it's all about player development. We've never been able to develop a quarterback, and hopefully the right people are in the building right now to do just that, because you get a statue. Like be decent, win a Super Bowl, you get a statue. We've never had a quarterback that you have to, you throw for 4,000 yards in a season, which is not nothing, but it's not out of this world anymore. You throw for 4,000 yards, and you're already the most prolific passer in Bears franchise history. The bar is so low. The bar is so low. Get us to the playoffs, and we'll go from there. But for you to be the greatest quarterback of all time, Caleb Williams, not a lot has to be done. And I know we have an Alabama viewership here, and they're going to say certain things about who he was collegiately. That skill set coming to Chicago, I refuse to be anything but excited. So hopefully good times to come for the Bears.
Love your enthusiasm. Joe, we appreciate it, my friend. You're the best. All the best to you and the fam.
Thank you, Doug. I appreciate you. Looking forward to a fun season. We're full speed ahead on golf on CBS now. So I'll see you plenty, pal.
Thanks, Joe.